Happy holidays, everybody, and Tony here with a tribute to a Christmas special from an animated show that I caught ever since I was a kid that also happened to be one of my most favorite comedic superhero shows. I'm talking about In Arm's Way from Freakazoid, which aired on Kids WB on December 16, 1995. This was directed by Dan Reba and it was written by Ken Segal. I didn't catch Freakazoid until I was 8 years old when it was airing on Cartoon Network. Sure, it was really big in the 90s, but it took me until 2000 where I was traveling alongside my mom and my sister to California to meet up with some family friends and relatives that I ended up catching this particular comedic superhero show. Ever since then, Freakazoid stuck with me for many years. And much like its predecessors, Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, and Pinky and the Brain, Freakazoid manages to take advantage of its usage of pop culture references with witty and intellectual tact, its colorful set of characters, its amazingly vibrant setting, and just how much Freakazoid managed to steal the show with each and every antic he gets himself into. There was never a dull moment, and for that, this show earns high marks for making me laugh every single time, as well as making me feel a sense of elation every time I see Freakazoid battle against his rogues gallery. In Arm's Way is a Christmas special that might seem like every other Freakazoid episode, which it kind of is, because you have the usual formula of Freakazoid battling the villain of the week, Arms Akimbo, but it still manages to be peppered with a lot of humor and just a lot of enjoyment that I managed to receive from this particular Christmas episode. It all starts with Freakazoid trying to look for a gift, especially for his girlfriend Steph, as well as his many friends and enemies. Unfortunately, his gift shopping will have to be interrupted by the arrival of the villain of the week, Arms Akimbo, who is a gangster who has committed larceny and all types of theft, and who even sells his insurance called Oops Insurance, in which he purposefully breaks a lot of paraphernalia, especially from each store, and he utters a sardonic oops, thus making sure that his victims pay in premium. The narrator was even so kind to tell us about Arms Akimbo's origins, as he was once upon a time following in his parents' footsteps as a print model. However, not wanting to pursue print modeling, he ended up pursuing a life of crime all the way up to his adulthood. He even terrorizes Mike, who is working in a hot dog store throughout the holidays. Even with all this terror going on, Freakazoid is still partaking in all of these fun activities, from riding in an automated horse to having a visit to Santa Claus, asking him what he should get for Steph. And Santa ends up replying that he should get her perfume. Do bear in mind that Freakazoid is doing all this gift shopping all at the last minute, which he also admitted that it was rather dumb of him to have done something like that. He even gets a call from Mike that Arms Akimbo is at large. Even though Freakazoid was about to attend to Mike, he ends up being distracted by a chocolate house because he knows that one of the chocolate models would be perfect for Lieutenant Cosgrove. As soon as Freakazoid is Christmas shopping at the grocery store, he even bumps into Loeb, and they end up having a rather pleasant conversation with each other, asking each other about how their holidays are going, because Freakazoid initially thought that Loeb was invading Europe with his cheese inventions. However, Loeb was doing Christmas shopping for his family, and with more property being damaged, Freakazoid realizes that he now has to stop Arms Akimbo. And we even get a very hilarious line from Loeb asking if Freakazoid bought him those troubadour pants, and I thought that was really sweet. Cue Arms Akimbo as he and Freakazoid face off, but not before remembering that softball incident in which Arms Akimbo did catch the softball simultaneously when Freakazoid slid to that base. And there was this whole debacle going on if Freakazoid was truly out or if he was safe during the superheroes versus supervillains softball game. The fight scene was also quite hilarious as Freakazoid thwarted Bo and Malachi, Arms Akimbo's henchmen, by simply ducking as the two large men attacked with their blackjacks. This also shows that Freakazoid doesn't really need super strength, super speed, or any super abilities, but he's rather crafty, even though he does present himself as quite goofy and rather silly. Nevertheless, he uses that same amount of craft to defeat Arms Akimbo by doing a square dance with him and spin him around like a top, thus making him land on some coffee mugs. And it seems like Arms Akimbo ended up getting what was coming to him as he ends up being busted. Not until we have a final conversation between Lieutenant Cosgrove and Freakazoid, in which Lieutenant Cosgrove responded to Freakazoid that Steph would be a lot more interested in ukulele lessons or any other activity, and he still believes that girls like perfume. Just as Freakazoid probably stated that all he's going to give her is himself, Lieutenant Cosgrove responds by stating, "Just give her the perfume," which I thought was a very hilarious way to end this Christmas episode. In Arm's Way from Freakazoid was fun, hilarious, and it left me laughing all the way thanks to the slapstick antics that occurred, as well as the jokes being thrown in. And let's not forget about just how Freakazoid defeated Arms Akimbo. Not with super strength, but with craftiness. Aside from the humor and fun this episode had, I also had to give credit to the voice actors, such as Paul Rugg, Tress MacNeille, Jeff Glenn Bennett, and Ed Asner. And lest I forget about John Shuck as Arms Akimbo. Even though these vocal thespians did exceptionally well in each of their roles, I seriously have to give my hat off to Joe Leahy as the narrator. He was the one who made this Christmas special all the more worthwhile watching, let alone extremely rewatchable. His hilarious delivery, especially when he used certain references in his delivery, managed to make me smile. And even when Arms Akimbo ended up being introduced, he even accompanies the orchestra by saying bum 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 bum, the singing those chords alongside the orchestra, which I thought was the most hilarious moment of this entire Christmas episode. So without mincing any words, Joe Leahy managed to make this Christmas episode a whole lot more fun, and he just made me have a huge smile on my face every time I heard his voice. Overall, In Arm's Way may not be the deepest nor the most sentimental Christmas episode ever, but it still managed to compensate for that with fun, laughter, humor, and a whole lot of referential jokes that make me come back to this particular Christmas episode. And for those of you who caught In Arm's Way from Freakazoid, what'd you think of it? Did you really enjoy Joe Lee's narration to the point where he stood out in this episode? Did you feel that the battle between Freakazoid against Arms Akimbo and his henchmen was absolutely fun and it left you with a huge smile on your face? Or did you feel that this whole Christmas episode was not to your liking? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's it for my tribute to In Arm's Way from Freakazoid. Tune in later where I take a look at Have Yourself a Morlock Little Christmas from X-Men the Animated Series. So until then, happy holidays, everybody!